listening to the Questionnaire.
Say that again.
You're listening to the Questionnaires.
I've just started.
Right here, for your ears, for your eyes.
The Questionnaire.
Get your comic on.
Poke it out, poke it out, poke it out, poke it out.
The lady grabbed Jimmy by the neck and lifted him like he weighed nothing. That was almost scarier than the noises she was making. Yeah! I know Tynan be making some great words over there with them books, man. We've had one of his partners in Michael Lumbing on the show within season 2. Go check that out. It's a couple episodes back with Scott, who might have, re-injured himself, excuse me, on the show. We might have to show that clip later, but we found out why you shouldn't do a podcast when you've torn a foot. They're tendon in your foot, man. It was an awkward moment. But that's besides the point, ladies and gentlemen, because this is the Questionnaire. Of course, I am the Unknown Factor, aka that Wade Wilson of hip-hop. But, as per usual, we ain't on hip-hop today, man. We don't do that over here on this particular quest. I don't know, the more we go, the more we're getting into a lot of bloody things, to be real honest. I mean, it's a lot of comics, but we've had Alan Henry over here, man. I got to thank Alan for the shout-out he just gave, man. Much love, man. I can't wait for his return to the quest, where we're going to play D&D. I haven't played D&D since I was 16, 17 years old. Now I'm going to play with the dude that played the Cocaine Bear. That is really, really, really weird, ladies and gentlemen, right? It's kind of spooky. I hope he don't coke up before the game and do terrible things. But we're trying to keep this PG, so I guess I shouldn't talk about drugs. But I'm sorry, he was in the movie. That's what the movie's about. It was literal. But if we're wanting to get scary, yeah, give you a bit of a spook. Yeah, we got Marcus Roberts in the house.
What's going on? Representing for all the horror fans.
Man, we've had an intriguing discussion before this quest even began on a couple different things. And I just want to kind of dive right back into it, but make it to where, we're gonna start off with a question to where hopefully they don't have to go check out the before and after the quest. Y'all are more than welcome to us right over in the Patreon link in the description. You can check out all the pre-show questionnaires from season 2 and season 1 when I get time to change some things for free. I just got to make it to where all the season 1s are free, as well as all the before and after the quests that I've got up at this point. Working on editing, folks. What can I say? But we were getting into just the ebb and flow of the comic market, and I think you made some very interesting points as far as the changes you've seen that have occurred, and the fact that people say comics are dying. I'd say, yeah, probably every 20 to 30 years, I'd say that's said at some point. Marcus, I think you're right on that. But if you look at it, in my opinion, how can comics die when they're technically the first way that we, as a species, told stories? And when I refer to that, I'm referring to drawings cavemen made.
Yeah. The funny thing is, we learn how to read through pictures. Like when you hit first grade, you get a book and it shows this little boy like this, and it says see Dick run. So this is how we are ingrained to learn and enjoy and absorb with pictures. So no, comics will never go away. And then as far as being ingrained, comic books are so ingrained in our society that during periods of war, because all the men were all fighting, you see a rise in romance comics, because there were a lot of women who were left home, and these women were reading comic books, and they weren't so much interested in Captain America punching the Nazi, but they were interested in good comic stories. So you saw a rise in romance comics. And as we go through the decades, depending on what's happening in the world, you see comics address these different things. I mean, it is just ingrained in our society, so they'll never go away. There's always going to be people out there like you and I that are going to be looking for books to read, picture books to read, because those chapter books get boring.
I mean, I can think of a lot that I've read, and a couple that two up here that I really need to dig into, but I haven't even had time to keep up with the stacked comics that I've got, and another one that I need to order that I want to get into. And then we won't talk about Adjustment Day, but I really need to get me a copy of that. Everyone should read it, as well as The Art of War, but that's a whole different note. And yeah, we're not going to get into that anymore. You know the book Adjustment Day, Marcus?
The Adjustment Day?
Yeah, you heard it. It's a book. That's a book.
No, no, I hadn't read it.
All right, we won't talk to that. We won't talk about that no more because it's a really really deep subject that we don't want on the list. So it's written by the same dude that wrote Fight Club, and I'll leave it at that. Okay, in case anybody wants to go and look it up and find it. But I think you're right, man, and I don't know why that knowledge isn't more just commonplace within people, and why people don't understand that about comic books, that they are that primary source, and that, in my opinion, in a lot of ways, there are so many more things you can do with a comic that you could never do with a book, or even, well, I don't know. The films are getting pretty close to where they can do whatever they want as far as in reference. Like, I think you'd be hard pressed to find a story in a comic that just couldn't be done on a film.
Yeah.
Just from the standpoint of technology, but it used not to be that way. It used to be.
Yeah.
It used to be, if they wanted to make Endgame, oh my god, it would have looked so bad. It would have looked so bad.
Oh yeah, imagine making Endgame in the 50s, man. Everything they would have to do to pull off some of the effects, like that. But at the same time, I think that would be so cool to have something like that done.
Well, because it would. I don't even know what they would have all included at that point. I mean, the trickery, like even just look at the last Endgame scene where it's the huge battle. Imagine them trying to compose that in the 50s. Because they're going to have to use stop motion for certain things. That much is obvious. Right? I don't know how you would achieve the effect of the portals.
I don't know, man. You're going to have to find the best claymation people in the world to get busy on some of this stuff, man. The visual effects, I mean, because of the camera technology, the portals, they could do it, but the portals would seem more like flashes on the camera than the fancy portal stuff we got, because there's just you don't have the computers to generate the type of image to place on the film. So but still they would have an effect. I mean, it's not like Star Trek started in the 80s or 90s. You know what I mean? They've been producing science fiction movies and these horror films with these different animatronics, so they would be able to do something. It just wouldn't be what we saw on the screen.
Yeah. No, because I mean, it makes me think of like Jason and the Argonauts and films like that from. I mean the old one too, because I know they did that one recently, and we won't talk about it.
Look, I saw the first Sinbad movie, Sinbad Sails the Seven Seas or something like that. Started to drive in actually as a kid, and the fight scene between him and the big monster creature. I mean, you look at what they had to work with back then versus what they could actually do with a creature like that now. And we're not just talking, somebody wearing a suit, but we're talking about being able to generate this image with the use of computers and place this image in the actual film. So, I mean, yeah. But that first Sinbad movie, I'll never forget it. It was the most interesting thing, because as a kid, seeing them fighting those creatures, like that was a rush. As an adult, looking at that old movie now, it just looks so cheesy. But as a kid, like it was like, wow, this is the greatest thing.
It's like watching the old Godzilla films, you know?
Yeah,
And I know I
yeah,
used to enjoy the crap out of them, but I watch them now and I'm like, that's so just a dude in a suit.
yeah, exactly.
You
It's
know?
just
So
a
yeah.
dude in the suit.
I'm curious in that, Marcus. Do you think that the increase in technology has made it to where it's affected the storytelling as far as people feeling that, oh, well, this looks great, so it doesn't have to worry so much about the people?
Well, I don't think we get away from it, but it technology has enhanced things so much more. Uh, think about I forget the characters right on the tip of my tongue. The guy who he and his son they built the wings and they flew to the sun, and the sun flew too close to the sun, and
Icarus.
he fell out of. All right,
Icarus.
when Icarus, yeah, think about when that was written. The imagination that was used to write it. It's the same imagination if it was written today. It's just now, whereas they had to rely on pulleys and ropes where they could get the person in the air and the things that they had to do to make that scene. Now it could be fleshed out so much more with the
But
technology that's used today.
but Marcus, the story of Icarus is comes from Greek mythology.
Even so,
I'm pretty sure it's
imagination is
Greek.
imagination,
So, yeah, but
and
that's what I'm
that's
saying. So technically, that story, in and of itself, as far as the story of Icarus, um, Jesus, dude, I'm not gonna Google it, but I know it's a couple hundred years old. You know what I mean? Because that's based in Greek mythology. Because Icarus
yeah.
was one of the was he a god? Dude, I haven't read Greek mythology in a long time, Marcus. Stop making me think this hard. Um, Jesus. Now I have to Google it because I honestly have to know.
Well, you think about when that story was written. If it were produced exactly as it was written, even back then, what we would get would look just like anything that we would produce now. It wouldn't be, you know, some guy with sticks with feathers stuck on it that's stuck on his arm. You know what I mean? It,
Oh, oh yeah,
producing that,
wait, and that
producing it with modern technology would enhance that story so much more.
I mean that's a fair point, maybe. Yeah, it just said so. It's like 1639 or 1635. Yeah, it's around when the story of Icarus was told. As far as the original, I had to know, dude. I absolutely had to know. 'Cause I like to study all mythologies, and we're not going to say what I include in all mythologies. We're just going to leave it at that. Because I think there's a lot to see within the human psyche in all cultures if you're able to look through those and figure out, because it gives you a kind of a idea of what people were thinking and what people knew to a certain extent at the time. You know what I mean? Because you can see all these mythologies trying to explain some kind of phenomenon that at the time was completely inexplainable because of the technology that was available. You know,
Right.
so I think that's always been an intriguing aspect. I think it's funny though if you look like people often call superheroes our modern mythology. Um, and I think it's odd people focus so much on superheroes when they think about comics, especially nowadays. Because I mean, you were talking about the boom when you were in first grade of horror comics, which what would have been the late '60s, early '70s.
Yeah,
All right,
70,
all right,
71.
all right, okay. I'm not trying to date you, man. I just want people to be aware as far as the history of everything. You know what I mean?
That's okay. I'm 59 for
Yeah.
everyone that.
You're not the oldest dude. I got co-hosts that are older than you. It's okay, Marcus. And I mean, without the depth of time, you do you need that to garner knowledge. You know what I mean? There's not going to be. I don't care how intelligent you are at 10 years old. If you can sit there and do mathematical equations that are ridiculous, that's fine. It still doesn't garner you the intelligence as far as having lived life and developed emotionally and such. And within that, that's a whole different context of story. But what I was saying, as far as the history of comics, man, you see that boom around 71 where the horror comics come in. You know, there had been war comics previous to that. I think it was late 80s or maybe early 80s where they introduced the comic code, was it not?
Now the comics code was introduced in the 50s, the late
Oh, in the
50s.
50s. Okay.
And with Dell and Gold Key were a couple of the biggest horror publishers, in that the stuff that they published that within the confines and rules of the Comics Code Authority, you couldn't publish, you couldn't show blood, you couldn't use certain words or descriptions. But
Vampire.
if you were publishing the comic book that was a movie adaptation, so if you're doing Dracula, you got away with doing stuff in a comic that was just Dracula. If you were doing the Wolfman, because this was a movie, so you got away with certain things. The Comics Code couldn't or wouldn't try to control or enforce that. But there were only a couple of books or publishers that had the rights to these movie properties, and that was Gold Key and Dell. So every other comic publisher had to abide by the strict codes of the Comics Code Authority. And that's how you got your whole underground comics movement, because these guys were slipping the Comics Code Authority the finger like, yo, you can't tell me what I'm going to do, what I want to do. Like, you kiss my comic book writing ass. I'm going to write what I want to write and do it how I want to do it.
That is, I mean, and yeah, I wouldn't assume that the Comics Code would come after those companies, because you're going after Universal. And
Exactly.
yeah, I don't think they wanted that fight. I think if they would have come to Universal like that, Universal would have been like, look, do you want to go away or do you want to talk to all our lawyers? Those are your only options. All right.
Exactly. And the funny thing is, now they've purchased all those comic book companies. So, like Disney owns Marvel, and these Hollywood entities have gotten their hands on the comics. So,
well, yeah, because I mean, Warner Brothers owns DC. Disney clearly owns Marvel. That's more than public knowledge, I think. I don't think the other one is so much as far as DC being owned by Warner Brothers. I don't think that's as public knowledge for some reason as Marvel owning Disney. I think if you don't know Marvel owns Disney, like, you've been living under a rock or a hermit and just ignore the world and everything in it. The other, yeah, I could totally totally see people thinking that the Warner Brothers has just bought all the properties or whatever, which is kind of odd that they haven't made that more like, hey, DC is ours, you know what I mean, kind of thing.
yeah. But I don't think they really try to involve themselves so much in the comics as Disney does with Marvel, and trying to uphold the whole Disney image. So,
Elaborate that statement, Marcus, before I say anything.
all right, the Disney image, this wholesome, diverse, clean cut, positive thinking, socially conscious, the things that we associate now in modern society is the things that Disney wants to be representative of, and that bleeds over in the comics. So you get socially conscious comics, you get comics that are more diverse, you get comics that are more image conscious, because the parent company is that way. I often say a team is a reflection of the coach. So if your coach sucks, generally the team sucks. So Disney is the coach, and being the coach, this is how they're running their team. Wherein with Warner Brothers, they aren't so much concerned with that aspect of DC. They actually are more hands off, in my opinion, because DC is already established. They are established. They've been established. It's like there's no need to go in here and try to tweak things here or there so it can be more amenable for Warner Brothers. They just let DC do what DC does.
No way. Why do you say DC is more established than Marvel?
I didn't say they were more established than Marvel. I said they are established, meaning they've been publishing books for how long? You know, we know how long DC has been publishing comic
Because Marvel obviously started out as Timely, and then DC.
books. Timely, yeah.
Yeah, so I know Marvel, I believe, was shortly after Dude, you just trying to make me Google this whole show? I'll do it.
Because and that's the thing. Marvel is established. Like they already had an image as a comic book company. But once Disney got involved, you started seeing changes in their overall image. They weren't, and not that change is bad. In some cases, change is good, but there was change. The Marvel that we see now in 2024 is not the same Marvel from the 80s. It's not the same Marvel from the 70s or even the 90s. But with DC, we see a lot happening, particularly with the lines and the restarts and all this. But this is like all DC. Yeah, this is what they've been doing for decades. This is how they run their thing. But with Marvel, you saw a shift, you saw a change, and it's to the point now where, and I know I'm one of many who complain about this, but the characters in the comics now are reflections of the characters we see on screen.
I don't think they do that with all of them, but I do certainly agree that they do that with a portion of them at least. Now, mind you, I don't read that this goes back to the whole point we made earlier as far as the minimum wage comment, and it's just like, look, I would love to purchase a good chunk more than I do, but time is finite, and so is my wallet.
Yeah.
So I haven't read. I mean, the closest I'm reading the Ultimate books. I just picked up Ultimate Issues 1, or the Ultimate Issues 1, and I read that Ultimate Issues, but I wouldn't say those are anything comparable. But that's obviously a completely separate universe from the 616 Marvel universe. I can't think. I guess I'm about to read some stuff with the Avengers in it when they start popping up in Blood Hunt.
Yeah.
Because I am reading that because I loved the way they did that 10-issue arc of Blade that led right into Blood Hunt.
Yeah.
So no, I don't. It makes me curious how many people didn't read that series of Blade, those 10 issues. Y'all should have. It was a phenomenal story, very very well drawn as well. Just a great book all around. But it makes me wonder how many people didn't read that and then went and read Blood Hunt #1 and was like, they played a bad guy. Spoilers. Sorry. Should be on issue 3 by now. So if you're reading it, That's all I'm saying. If you didn't, maybe that's a reason you want to go read it. Holy crap, they made Blade a bad guy.
Which he should have been. He should have always been a bad guy. Blade should have always been out there, at least on the fringe. He
was always sort of on the fringe, I think. A little. I mean, not as much as Deadpool, but kind of close, But I think the only reason he got leeway is because he was killing vampires. He didn't often kill a person.
Yeah.
So.
Well, remember years back when they had the whole X-Men event where Dracula's son Zarius, I think they had the plan with the vampires taking over, and this is how they established the vampire nation. And they had like Kitty Pryde was a vampire, I think.
Jubilee was turned vampire in that series.
I mean, yeah. So
I don't think they ever did. They get Kitty? That'd be a hard one to get. That's all I'm saying. Like, since she can be like, you walked through me.
Well, I meant Jubilee, but I'm thinking young girl, young X-Men girl. But anyway, yeah, the whole vampire thing has always been the fascination, like blending the whole vampire thing with the superhero thing. And like, I think Dracula really was a hard sell. So Blade would be easy because Blade actually deals in both those worlds. He kicks around with the Avengers and some of these other heroes, and yet he still is that horror guy. He still is the guy hunting vampires. So yeah, it kind of makes sense that if you're gonna have something like that with anybody, it's got to be Blade.
It was very, very well done as far as like for anyone that read that Blade. Did you read those 10 issues of Blade?
I'm actually on issue 7. I got the trade.
Oh, okay.
I'm a trade guy, so I always wait till the trades come out.
And look, when I started this show, back, God, it's been almost 2 years now. Shout out to Matt Hawkins for being the first and second episode. Then you'll never see the first episode because I don't have it either. Sorry. But you can check out Matt on that very, very first episode of the Questionnaire. I said that. I was like, I'm sticking to graphics, right? And then I kept doing this show. And then I like picked up a couple graphics from a couple different creators, and then they started dropping books, and my brain went, son of a, and I started a pull list. So I was like, I don't want to wait, 5 months for this. Really, I'll tell you, the main guy that caused it was Tony Fleece sent me an advanced copy of Local Man. And I think I'd have to check with Dave, but I think it was the first comic I had in my pool. I was like, dude, I'm starting a pull list. I think that might have been it, because he sent it to me like 2 months before the actual issue dropped. So I'm like, I don't want to wait 10 months to read any more of this series, because I mean, it would have, between when the actual issues started dropping and then they had enough for a graphic and then it drops to a graphic, probably would have equated to about 10 months. So yeah, it's Tony's fault. I don't know if that's actually true, but I'm going to blame Tony anyways, because it's just funny that way. And I love Fleece, man. That's just what it is. But yeah.
I had stopped with comics for a long time because I got to a point where the only thing I collected was the Savage Sword of Conan, the big black and white magazine. So that was the only things. I got stacks and stacks of those. But when I started back in the comics,
I don't mean to interrupt you, but if you're gonna bring that up, I just gotta say, shout out to Fred Kennedy and Richard Pace, as well as Andy. Man, I ain't gonna try to pronounce your last name. It's Andy the Animal. It's Andy the Animal to me because I ain't pronouncing his last name. Actually, y'all just had stories in the new Savage Sword of Conan in some capacity.
Well, I got stacks and stacks of the black and white magazine. So when I came back in the comics, I was picking up floppies here and there, but storage became the thing. And then I was like, okay, some of these books, I've waited so long until they have trades, and I started getting the trades, and I started catching up on stuff I missed out, because like when I say I set out of comics, I'm talking like 10, 12 years. I didn't collect the comics. So I had to catch up on a lot of storylines. Like the biggest thing, okay, the first Marvel Civil War, and I usually base things from there and the Avengers Disassembled. Okay, like I had to go all the way back to there and come all the way back just to find out, because I'm like, man, what the hell is going on here? So I had to find out what was
What?
happening.
Firstly, Marcus, that's hilarious because I don't. The fact that, yeah, same. Firstly, that's around when I stopped, right? Really reading comics was right around when this dropped, maybe a little bit after it. And then I started getting back into. I got back into it really heavy. 3 years ago, maybe right around there, right around that mark, right? I couldn't tell you exactly when. And for me personally, when I started diving back in, um, there were certain Marvel things that I did want to check out. Mainly, I was like, I want to check out what Deadpool's doing. And he's such a character as far as how they play him that you can pretty much just read what he does and what he's in, and you ain't got to read pretty much anything else really to understand as far as what Deadpool's got going on. I didn't, and when I started, I think the greatest example, I picked up an X-Force book because it was Deadpool and Omega Red were in it, and I was like, I love those characters, and I read it, and I was like, I don't want to read any more of this because to understand what's going on, I need to read the House of X, the Fall of X. I need to read a stack of graphic novels, probably at least this thick, you know.
Yeah.
And I was reading, like I'm reading a lot of stuff from Image, Boom, Dynamite. You know, just picked up Dick Tracy from Mad Cave, which was phenomenal. See, I've kind of I really thought about it recently, and I was like, what am I picking up from either of the big two? The Alien, the Predator, and the Deadpool books. And that's pretty much it. Well, and I'm reading Blood Hunt because, occasionally it's like one of those things where it's like, ooh, they're doing a Cable story, or they're doing a Blade story, or they're doing I read that. And then when I see more Blade led too, I was like, well, I have to read Blood Hunt now because he's obviously, like, I didn't realize until like I was on like the third to last page, and I was like, Blade's the bad guy. Like before they actually revealed it, but I was like, he's straight. I was like, from everything he did, he's straight. Yeah, Blade. Holy crap. So it was an interesting build. But beyond that, man, yeah, I read more other things than anything else.
Yeah, I had to actually go back to the Blade, even though I saw when it was released, I saw the issues that were coming out, but I
My
didn't
apologies.
immediately go to it.
I'm sorry if I spoiled that for you, by the way, Marcus.
No, trust me, you good, man, you good.
Okay.
But I had to go back to it because I was into like I was Philadelphia, of course. Rodney Barnes is just blowing me away with the Philadelphia, and I had to go back and get Blackula. The Something Is Killing the Children, and then the House of Slaughter. I was in Abbott 1979, Victory from Dynamite with David Walker. Like, I really didn't have any room for anything big two-ish. But then I saw the Blade and I said, okay, I need to circle back and get the Blade. So I circled back to get the Blade. I actually do collect the Black Panther, but I only collect the Black Panther trades. So, waiting on Black Panther trades to come out because I know the trades are coming out. But other than that, it's like everything else is horror. If it's not horror, then I'm pretty much not looking at it. I just got from the Kickstarter the Cold Shack anniversary book, and I'm just waiting to dig into that.
Have you read any of Doug Wagner's work? Specifically,
No.
vinyl, plastic, and plush?
No, I hadn't read that. You have to see. When it comes to different books, right? I learn more from other people about things because I have a list and my list is all. I wish I could turn the camera around so you can see my desk, but I have a stack of books that's so deep, and I'm trying not to add anything new. But like you talking, like you showed the volume 7 of Something Killing the Children, and I'm saying to myself, see, now I got to slide that in there to go pick that up, and I'm sliding that in, making some space for it in between some other stuff, because I'm just locked in. I am locked in.
I understand. This is my needs to be read list. Or stack, I mean list. I said list. It's a freaking stack of books. But and this is only because I ain't gonna lie, the show kind of took a back seat, and I took 2 hours and just sat and read like a chunk of I'm like, you know what, I'm done for the day. I'm just gonna take 2 hours. This stack had gotten way bigger than that and had like comics that were 3 to 4 months old in it, and I was like, yeah, this is not acceptable.
Yeah.
And like I don't do this show because I don't want to read comics. You know what I mean, Marcus?
I know exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
And my thing is, I actually buy and collect a lot of independent comics. So I have stacks, and this is another reason why I really don't have time to get into too much of what, not just the big two, but even with Image and Boom and Dynamite. Well, I don't really have time to get into what they're doing, because I support across the board a lot of indies. Like my Kickstarter to read stack is almost 2 feet tall.
I mean, firstly, yeah, that's yeah, because there is so many great things on Kickstarter, man, comic book wise. Like, I mean, we've had so many great creators that have had books. That, I mean, I'll give you a perfect example, especially as somebody that finds success in a Kickstarter like that, is if you look at Erica Schultz. She started by doing the Deadliest Bouquet, and she ran that as a Kickstarter. Image picked it up, and now she's writing so much for Marvel that she's like, I think I picked up too many books. Well, and she's writing the Spawn book. So you know what I mean? So it's also awesome that you can find to where within a Kickstarter that people will rise like that. You know what I mean? I think that's phenomenal. But there's so much there. I think it's like, look, man, I can't go on Kickstarter and browse comics because, like I said, like my wallet can take it. I'll be real honest, right? I can't. Like having everybody I have on the quest and sitting here, it affects my wallet enough because 90% of the time I have somebody on the show, and then I'm like, I gotta go buy a book. And I only sigh like that because it's because I really want to read that. Oh, I gotta go buy a book, you know,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
I love to read books, so and comics and all that. I mean, I've even had creators on that it's like I need that book now. Yeah. Fabian and
Well,
Alex, I swear.
between that and going to cons, I do a lot of cons. So
Yeah.
and doing cons, like I see so much good stuff, and being able to get it right then, have the guys who wrote it, or even the guys who wrote and drew it, sign it right there. I mean, it really becomes a big thing. But I do a lot of cons.
So let me ask you that, man. Within the comic book market that exists now, which is obviously extremely different than the one that existed in even I'll say the 80s, because there are no spinner racks, there is nothing of that. If you want comics, you either have to go online and find them, go to a specialty store. You can get graphic novels within pretty much any bookstore. But in some cases, if you I don't think my local Books a Million. Look, they don't have something as Killing the Children. I don't know why. Okay.
Yeah.
But they don't carry graphics like that. That's just how it is. So, and then you've got all the specialty market, everybody running Kickstarter and all of that. How important do you think it is for someone that's trying to really get a foot in, like like the most important thing? Do you think it's conventions? Do you think it's Kickstarters? Do you think one helps the other? Do you think there's one that is you should put more effort into to make sure one of the others work?
Well, between the cons and the Kickstarters, I believe those are actually two different things. They're both revenue streams, but they're different in that the audience and the way that you actually approach the audience is different. Because with a con, you are live, you're in person. With Kickstarter, people actually go to your Kickstarter. You have to actually have more effort, more work in order to drive people. And I was just talking about driving people to things earlier on another show, but you have to drive people to your Kickstarter. You have to attract people. You have to pull people in, and it's hard work. People think, okay, yeah, I'll just set it up and I'll let it run those days and then it'll fund. And no, that's a big lie. You have to work that thing. You have to work it like Stella walking the strip. You have to work it. And if you don't work it, then you aren't going to get any money. The conventions, people come to conventions, particularly if it's a comic book convention, not a toy show or card show, but a comic book convention. People come looking for comics. And they come looking for original stuff. They actually come out to support these independent and small press people. Oftentimes I have people tell me, like, hey, I'm all for supporting independent. I'm going to make sure I support the independent. And even if it's just purchasing a $5 book, I mean, still, they are showing this. They're putting their money where their mouth is. They've come and they've purchased this $5 book from me. Now, hopefully, it's not the last time that they purchase a book, but a lot of that is on me as far as having new content or having content that is desirable to the consumer. Because you don't just put something together and expect people to buy it. And if that's what you're doing, then you are going to have disappointing days because
Stop
people are
making
too
fun of how
savvy.
Stop making fun of how I put this show together, Marcus.
But you have those guys out there that the stuff that they do, and I mean anybody who is doing this, I give them credit. But the stuff that they're doing that they want consumers to actually spend money on is not as good as it could be. And they become disappointed that people aren't buying it without realizing the part that they play in it. I did a con a few weeks ago that I didn't do as well as I thought I was going to do or felt I should do. And it wasn't the con's fault. It was my fault. I just didn't have the stuff. I didn't have the stuff that the people were looking for. Now, I could point fingers at the con. Oh, this con sucks, but that's a lie. The show was great. The show was full of people. I just didn't have the stuff that the people were looking for.
What do you think is the importance of that in a con? I mean, because like I said, we've had so many great creators on the show at this point, and we've had so many different conversations about going to conventions, and I mean, they all vary. There's so many different stories from conventions, which is the way it should be. Because if there's many people as there is, if you go to a con and you come back with the same story as somebody else, you did the con wrong. I don't know what you did, but you did the con wrong. Okay, that's all I'm saying. Because there should have been a story that was different. But what do you think is the most important thing to attract an initial eye from people at a convention? And do you think that what do you think is the importance of, say, having a kid's book?
All right. Well, first, that's the first part of the question: attracting people. Think about it in terms of looking at a commercial with a car dealership and riding by a car dealership. When you look at that commercial for a car dealership, they're going to show you on that screen the fanciest car that they have. But when you ride by that car dealership, All those cars are clean, they're sparkling, they're shiny. And you see these shiny vehicles as you're pulling up there on the lot because the shininess attracts you. People like shiny things. Same thing with the con. Like, somebody can flip through on the internet and they see your book on the internet, and even though they'll see a cover and it's interesting, they can read what the book is about and decide to buy it then. But at a con, they're walking by and they're going to look at that cover, and if that cover does not pull them to the table, they're going to keep going. So it's important to have something visually that's going to attract people to the table. So when you walk by my table, you're going to see a cover that you're going to love. It may scare you. I did a con this past weekend. This young lady looked at my table and she frowned up like a real big frown. And I was like, something just disturbed you on this table, didn't it? And she was like, yes. And I said, which one was it? And she showed me the cover.
Yeah, see, now you got to show the cover.
Showed me the cover. The book is Evil Lives. And it disturbed her. So guess what? She bought the book for her husband. But she got it was the reaction from the cover. And yeah, it could have been, oh, I love it, but that wasn't the reaction. The reaction was, wow, that's kind of crazy looking. My husband will like that. So she got the book. So at the cons, people decide when they see whether or not they're going to purchase. And you as the comic creator, or no, we'll call it what it is. You as a salesman, you're either going to talk them out of buying it or talk them into buying it because they've already decided that it's something that's piqued their interest. So you have to be that salesman. If they came over to your table, it's interest. So now it's up to you to either reel them in or you're going to talk them away. But either way, it's interest there. And that's the covers, whether it's just the covers or even the whole display of your table itself. I've seen guys whose tables, it's like a carnival, man. They got so much stuff going on with the table. It's like you got to decide or try to find where the comic books are on the table because they got so much stuff. But people look at that and they walk over and with that same carnival mindset, like, hey, what's going on here?
That's just fairly intriguing, man, to think about that as far as how it is very much a different game between the two. I wish, yeah.
My degree is in psychology, man. So I spent a lot of time reading people and reading reactions and making determinations as to the basis of the reaction, but also how to feed the reaction to keep the reaction going. Yeah, it's a little psychology thing. We use psychology in everything.
All right,
So
yeah, you're right.
The best salesman actually is a top-notch psychologist.
So let me ask you this in that regard: when the introduction of social media happened, suddenly, the entertainers, creators, and everything behind all of the media that we've watched suddenly became more responsible for promoting it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right? Like that happened with the introduction of the internet and social media. Like suddenly the people that were creating the content, I mean, when it was far more like if there wasn't as much backlot stuff, you know what I mean? I'm talking about, yeah, it became to where all these people are all promoting everything they're doing at just a different level than they ever had before because of the introduction of this. Did you think that had an effect on the human psyche to where it went, oh man, I didn't mean for that to go boom? I'll figure that out later. Too many things going on over at this Quest. Meeting some metahumans out there. Just keep an eye out, and hopefully, if you'd like it, share it around because I don't scroll, y'all. What can I say? But that's part of my problem, Marcus. I don't scroll at all, and I don't promote, and I suck at that part. I'd like to think the show's pretty damn good, though. Right. But back to my point. Do you think that had an effect on the human psyche as far as when that happened and all of these people suddenly had to more self promote themselves that we all considered famous, that it made people realize, oh, well, maybe I can promote myself like that with something that I want to create, regardless of whether it be successful to where I could do that for a living? Sorry,
I
I know
think
that was a really long question.
I think there's an old adage about everybody wanting to be on television, or everybody wanting to be the one that, what is the 15 seconds of fame, 10 seconds of fame,
No, 15
and
minutes.
15.
Hey,
So
my 15 minutes of
what
fame.
social media did was allow you to double, triple, quadruple, to that 15 seconds now becomes exponential. But one thing that we have always known, because we have this thing called Nielsen and Nielsen ratings that people watch. So you meld the two together, you got millions of people watching because they like to watch. Nielsen tells us people like to watch. It can even tells us what people watch the most based on their viewing habits. And then you have these people now who have the opportunity to turn their once 15 seconds into 30 minutes, or how long is the average reel? Like 30 seconds, 15 seconds,
I
or
mean,
something like
I
that.
think 30 to, I don't know, man. I really, I
So,
most of the ones I watch are at least a minute or two. But again,
so
I don't, dude. I'm not. Look, when it comes to analyzing social media, I would probably be the worst person to speak. Well, not the worst person, but I'm not going to be a good analyst of it. But it's just because I don't use it a lot. Even though fundamentally I fully understand how it works, it's just there's some part of me that's like, no, I don't want it. Like, but look, if you want me to sell the questionnaire to you as a show right now, right, and what it's about and what we do over here, and the fact that it's for the love of comics, Marcus, right? When I'm either having a conversation with you like this, or face to face when I'm out in public, right? I'll do it to the point where I'm like, oh, you don't read comics? Have you seen the movie The Cocaine Bear? Or like, Kong versus Godzilla, all this. Oh yeah, well, I've had Alan Henry on, man. You should, you know what I mean? Like, I will
yeah,
sell
yeah.
the show, but like selling it online, I suck at that, man. I am terrible. You know what I mean? It's not. Yeah, no.
It's that 15 seconds of fame because, well, like you said, if the average is a minute on a reel, you've quadrupled now your exposure time from 15 seconds to 60 seconds. You quadrupled it. So you combine that with just people looking for some type of entertainment. People have always looked for an escape. They've always looked for something to divert their attention from real life and real world things, because the world can be crazy. Things can be just out of control. And like the living life, man, that's a serious thing. Because sometimes when life is lifing, it's like, man, can I get off this train? Like, I was in such a hurry to grow up and move out of my folks' house, and now I'm like, dang, I wish I could go back to being 11 or 12 and get another 6 or 7 more years home.
Yeah, life be lifing, man. You ain't like yeah, life be lifing. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So how do you balance all that, man? Then especially, I mean, you're creating, then you have to market the Kickstarter, you're running the cons, you got to know. Oh, wait, what's your youngest kid?
Oh, see, that's where I have not so much an advantage, but my youngest is 24.
No,
Will be
no, no,
24 on the
no,
23rd.
Marcus. I
I
have
got
a 4-year-old.
grands.
I have a
So
4. Nah, no, don't. You got grandkids. That's not.
I
I got a
got
4-year-old, man. Like, I know you got, but you could, but the grandkid. Yeah. That's an unfair
I,
advantage.
I,
I mean, not really. You just
on any given day, I'll have the 3 grands here, and that's a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 5-year-old. And the
but it's that
3-year-old who of course she's got my heart, so she
uh,
can just come and play all she wants to, because all she gotta do is say grandpa, and I'm just hooked. But you know,
I mean, I get that dude as far as just when he comes, Daddy, just and I'm like, oh, you turned fine. Like I really needed to get this edited so it dropped by the time this dude's Kickstarter or before this dude's Kickstarter ended or some such. But you know the boys that yeah, you just got. So I mean, how do you balance all of that in that regard, man? I mean, that's a lot, especially when you're trying to independently create, and then you just have to like you said, life be life, and so you got to make sure you can life back.
well, that's the advantage of being independent. Uh, I make my own schedule. I don't answer to anybody. I am part owner of my publishing company, and my partner in the company, he and I both are of the mindset that we're not going to do comics 7 days a week. We're going to at least take a day, take some time, or even if I have to do it 7 days a week, it doesn't have to be 24 hours a day. So, I determine my schedule. I decide what I'm going to do and how I'm going to do it and when I'm going to do it. And if I don't do it, I don't feel bad about it. I'm not going to beat myself up about not being able to get to a script. If I am doing a Kickstarter, which I actually will be participating on one starting next week, but if I am doing a Kickstarter, because I
It'll wait
have done Kickstarters before,
real quick,
I
real quick.
know.
Sorry, Marcus. On the note of the Kickstarter, it'll be out and hopefully won't be done by the time I drop this episode. I got editing to do. I might have to hold back dropping stuff on the Patreon just so I can drop all these dang quests real quick. But
Well,
I
that's okay. That's
yeah.
okay.
But no, but so there should be a link in the description to that Kickstarter for everybody out there is what I wanted to let you know that. Sorry.
All right. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. But yeah, I determine how I'm going to do things. So I may get up one morning and while I'm drinking my cup of coffee, saying to myself, man, I'm not finna mess with no comic book stuff right now. And it's in here watching iCrimes and judge shows and whatever's coming on television, and reading a comic book with just, I don't have to force myself to work because I am my own boss. And being an independent publisher, that I really appreciate that. That's really important. I know that's something that I would lose if I worked for a company like Marvel or worked for DC or someplace like that, because now I'm working on their schedule and working on their deadlines and have to answer to them. And I got somebody standing over my shoulder like, hey, what are you doing? You're supposed to be doing this. And like, hey, hurry up and wait. And I ain't got time for all of that. I'm too old. I'm going to work on my schedule, do it how I want to do it. And if I don't want to do it on a certain day, then I'm going to play Hearts and Free Sale and Solitaire all day.
I mean, you are right in the aspect, though, that doing it like the way a lot of people do independently as opposed to working for one of those companies. Because the second you are in dealing with specifically DC or Marvel, yeah, it's very much, hey, there is a deadline. And it is your deadline, you know? And so I do think that is a completely different market and a way that you have to handle things when you get to. I mean, I don't know at what point you could really slack off. I mean, I know people miss deadlines and books get held up all the time. I mean, it's not like it's not uncommon, but I don't know. Think there's punishments for that?
To be honest, I don't have a clue, because
Huh.
everybody whom I talk to who work for those people are stressed out about hitting that deadline, so they work hard to try to hit it. And it's like man, I can't talk to you, man. I got to get this deadline. I got to get this stuff in. I got to get this stuff in. So people like disappear and are gone for a while, and they pop back up. It's like, okay, well, I guess you made that deadline. So yeah, I can come up and breathe for a few days, but I'm right back on it. And I'm like, I appreciate that they like that kind of structure. That's not for me. And I'm happy that I don't have to choose whether or not I'm going to submit myself to that. Like I'm happy doing what I'm doing, the way that I do it.
I could kind of relate to that structure though, because it's like, yeah, man, I got like 3 episodes out. All right, now I'm gonna take a break and read a stack of comics. Oh crap, now I'm really far behind.
But see, when you're in charge, when you are the owner, when you are the place where the buck stops, then it's like, who you gonna tell? Who are the people gonna tell? I I say this all the time when it comes to the content that we publish. It's like, okay, if you don't like it, then go tell one of the owners. Wait a minute, I am one of the owners. Who you gonna tell?
I mean, look, I'll be real honest in that regard. Like, if somebody was like, dude, what the, like, I real quick, like, I might have had one incident with, like, I don't, look, I'll put it out there right now. I prefer dealing with the person that's going to be on the show when I'm booking them. I know in all cases that's not possible, but I prefer it. And, shit, I lost my damn point, Marcus. And then I un-PG'd the show, or made it just PG-13 anyways. I lost my point because I was looking at something else because I was trying to bring up something else, and then you ever have I'm sorry, man. My brain runs on 10 different trains, and then it does that.
Oh, you're not crashing, man. We cool.
No, I'm. You ever? Sometimes I lose a thought. And it truly annoys me, and that's my idiot. That's the fact. Like I said, man, I got 10 different trains running all the times, and they're just trying to avoid one another, and that's all that it really is. But no, as far as putting things out, yeah, there you go. See, it just took me a second, Marcus. Sometimes I gotta ramble before the thought comes back around. It's because it's because one train had to run through. You ever been in an intersection of a train, right? The train's going, and like this train stops, and you're like, this is annoying the crap out of me. And then you see another train shoot by it. It's because this train had to stop for a moment, so this train didn't derail this train at a later point, or this train didn't hit one another. So that thought just had to stop for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. Like, they do at the train intersections that annoy the crap out of you, that you're stuck there for a freaking hour waiting for that to cross. That's all that was. Let me ramble about it a little bit and lose my point again, right? No, my point was, though. My point was that in the aspect of the show, it's more that I don't know. I guess it's just I put it on myself more than anything, and I just want and also the fact that I don't want to stack up to where I have because I told you don't book it into September right now. Like, we've got so many great quests coming up. I'm so looking forward to, dude. They like all of season 2 has just been phenomenal. I've loved this, man. I don't want to get so stacked up with having like, oh my god, I got 20 gigs of video that needs edited, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Because it's that many separate quests. And also the fact that I just want to put them out because I think they're highly entertaining. I would like to be able to make the time to make reels and all that funny little crap because it would probably help. But you know what, Marcus? No. I know I should. I won't, right? Because I already got a bunch of crap. I got to like no. If y'all want to go ahead and check out some funny, interesting after and before the quest, though, like I said, you can check those out on the Patreon. You can also check out Marcus's Kickstarter in the link below, right? So what is it exactly? What you got going on Kickstarter? Anyways, let's get into a little bit of that story. We haven't discussed anything that you're actually working on, Marcus. We've been sitting here BSing Like, and I've been loving it. I want to point out it's been great conversation, but I feel like we should talk about what you're working on a little bit.
All right.
That was
Well,
the
I'm
oddest,
working on this
longest.
project, the Epiphany engine. Working on this with the editors on it are myself, Joe Illich, Tony Cottrell, and Brian Hawkins. And we're working with writers like Rodney Barnes and Brandon Thomas and Robert Jeffrey and Colleen Douglas, Lonzo Starr, John Robinson. I mean, the project in itself,
How thick is this book?
100, I think it's 190 pages this book is going to be.
But you know, you started listing off people's names, and I'd have been like, I was like, yo, it'd be awesome to just get you all on at one point. And then you continued to list names, and my brain went, never mind.
Look, those were just the writers and the editors, because the artists, like people like N. Stephen Harris and Sean Hill and Jamal Igle and David Brame, I always pronounce his name wrong, but Chris Mosby. I mean, it's so many people in this project, and what it is over 70 characters. It's over 40 publishers and creators, and this is the biggest gathering of Black comic creators and publishers and characters in history on a project. So yeah, we brought the heat. Like I did Shook. When I did Shook, and Shook was released through Dark Horse, I brought together some big names. I brought together people like Rodney Barnes and Kevin Grievous, David Walker and John Jennings, along with myself and Bradley Golden and a couple other people. This project is of the same vein. We brought together some of the biggest names in comic books and put them all on one project. The book, as I said, 192 pages, somewhere along in there, and it's gonna be awesome. It's just big.
I'm annoyed a little by what you said, Marcus, and let me tell you why. Because one, now I'm like, well, I need that. Okay, that's my first problem. And the other problem is I'm like, I'd love to bring everybody. That's not feasible. Because I don't know how many names you even just listed off, in all sincerity. Like, because I wasn't counting. It was just an impressive list. And that would look, if I don't even know if this would handle that. Like, I don't know what my limit is as far as how many people I can have jump in, to be sincere. I've never tried it like that. But I feel like if it got to 10, one, I don't want to edit that. My laptop hates me when I put 6 layers of video in. Are you kidding me? It's like, dude, what are you doing? And yeah, and when you got me on 10, I don't think anybody would be able to say anything. Either that or the show would have to be 6 hours long. In which case, I really don't want to edit it.
Well, what I need to do is I need to put you in contact with our project lead, Tony Cottrell, who is the CEO of Advent Comics. And he's the one who's actually spearheading this thing. So I need to put you on with Tony Cottrell and set something up, because Tony would, I know he could make arrangements to have at least some of the people show up, some of the people appear.
I mean, I would be very, but like, I would, it's, now you got part of my brain, like, what's an acceptable number? You know? And I'm mainly like, what's the, I think I've only done 6 on the show. I don't think I've ever done more than that. For some reason, some part of my brain wants to think I had a pan con that was 8 people one time, but I don't think that's right.
Huh.
I mean, look, you ever just do so much, somebody shows you one of your stories, and you're like, oh yeah, you're right, I did that.
I have read some stuff I've written and was like, did I really write this? Like, this reads too good. I didn't write this.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's that problem I'm having right now where I'm like, I think maybe, I don't know. And I just know we can't have all y'all on at the same time because that like I don't know what my computer would do if I tried to put 26 layers of video in it.
Yeah. I
But
think
I
that might
don't
be
think,
asking a bit much.
yeah, I think it'd be like, dude, what do you know?
Yeah, it might be asking a bit much.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't do that. It wouldn't do that. All I know is that everybody you listed, there's only one name that's been on the quest, man. So yeah, and that's Sean Damian Hill.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. He's a good guy, man.
Oh,
He really is.
and a phenomenal artist, man. We've had the privilege over here on the questionnaire. He's come on a couple pan cons, where everyone drew.
Uh,
Um, you ever seen an alien? And by alien, just to be clear, I mean this alien, right? Bugs Bunny.
Alien Bugs Bunny. Never
Sean
saw that.
Sean Sean drew it on the show live.
Wow.
Like
Now
like
that sounds cool.
dude, yeah, Marcus. Like he just oh man. It was stupid to watch. I'm like, this is and everybody else like it was just a thing. I was like, the concept was, hey, what if a xenomorph got on the face of X? You know what I mean? Like a face hugger got on X and a
Yeah.
xenomorph popped out. What would it look like? Because you know how they're supposed to take traits. Everybody got something different. And yeah, Sean got Bugs Bunny, and
Huh.
I'll tell you, a buck tooth big-eared alien is pretty comical, Marcus.
I'm picturing it now.
Yeah,
I'm really picturing
uh,
with like the slope head, but buck teeth in the front,
let me see. Look,
and the ears coming from the back.
I'm pretty sure I've got the picture. I will email it to you because it's
Okay.
yeah, it was ridiculous, man. But how many? So wait, so you said 170 characters?
It's over 70
Oh no,
characters.
70 characters. See, I would. You said it once, and I got to reiterate facts sometimes. My bad. So 70 characters.
Yeah.
That's
The
and
book
this.
it has the way the book is set up. All right, it has at least 7 chapters in it covering different genres. So you got a chapter that has horror. You have a chapter that has fantasy. You have a chapter that has action. You have a chapter, a superhero chapter, and it all is framed by this story about this family, the McCallie family, who they're battling this evil being who has familiarity with the family itself. And this being is called Absalom. The title of the Kickstarter is The Epiphany Engine.
Again, link in the description. Right, wherever you're checking it, you can check down. There's a link right there, or right up top. I that's intriguing, especially based on the fact that you've made it to where it's going through so many different time spans, to where you're able to touch on everything. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I think that is one of the key elements as far as like time frame in a story like that allows you to switch genres to a certain degree more easily, I would say. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Especially like, can I ask how long of a time span, because you say it's dealing with the family's bloodline, how long of a time span does this comic cover?
the comic encapsulates some flashbacks and also encapsulates some scenes wherein like the family has their own individual chapters. There's 5 members of the family, and each member has their own individual chapter where they're dealing with and facing the evil that's going on, facing this character that's going on, and they're having these battles with the aid of these characters that we've brought in from the different publishers and the different creators and the different people. So you'll see a character from, say, like Wingless Comics. You'll see a character from Concrete Comics. You'll see a character from Wiseacre Comics. You'll see a character from Advent. You see all these characters from all these different publishers, all these different comic book creators, and they will appear at some point and at some time during the course of the whole story, culminating in this big in-game style battle.
That's how difficult, man. I just need to. Who'd you say was leading that project? You said way too many names, Marcus, and I'm bad with. Look, you go back and look through the show, and I don't think anybody I'm just bad with names, man. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be. I'm really. It's not something that's today. So who did you say was spearheading this?
Tony Cottrell is the project
Okay.
lead, but Joe Illidge is the lead story editor. And I, along with Brian Hawkins and Tony Cottrell, are also editors on the project. So
what was the process of like how long we'll ask it like this. How long did it take it for it to get to the point where you guys were like, hey, we're all going to do this? For everyone to agree. I'm curious because look, I mean, let's be honest. In the heyday, you got Marvel versus DC, and they did amalgamation. You know what I mean? And that's like if anybody hasn't read that, I think you should just for the joy of it. It's just a fun comic. I'm sorry, I'm pretty sure they're actually getting ready to re-release it all in graphic novel or have here recently. But you ain't getting them to do anything like that nowadays, right? And I mean, I don't know. Like, you even get to like Boom and Dynamite and all of them dealing like that. You don't see a lot of little crossovers like that so much anymore, right? So what was the time frame to where it took to where you guys got to where everyone was together and you knew what you guys were going to do?
Well, the funny thing is, we talked earlier about social media and the impact of social media. There was a question posed in this comic book group called the Black Comic Lords. The question posed in the group about collaborations, and it centered around this comic book that came out some years ago, War of the Independents, and particularly that 3rd issue of War of the Independents. The cover was done by Larry Stroman, and at that time, it represented the biggest gathering of Black heroes on a cover. So the question was, will there ever be anything like that to happen again? And it was given specifically to Tony Cottrell of Advent, and Tony just put out an open invitation for collaboration between all the different publishers and creators, and people started responding. So as people responded, we started adding them to the list, and then from there it was okay. For something like this, we need editors and writers and artists. Breaking it up into the individual jobs. So that's where like me and my editorial skill came into play. I am for the most part, collection editor on a lot of anthologies and graphic novels, and I've put books together with big names not just volume 1 of Shook, but with volume 2 of Shook. It features all women, and it features people like Aletha Martinez, whom we talked about, Tanana of Dew, Shaquille Finley, and I just like had brain freeze. I can't think of everybody on the project.
I get
Mescaline
it.
Hess, they're gonna kill me too when they see me. Reagan Buchanan, but putting together these books with big name people. So that's something that I do routinely. So, being able to get in on the project and bring that along with me was a bonus. Because when you got people writing like Rodney Barnes or like a Colleen Douglas, those people are stellar. Like that's the word I have to use. They're stellar. They're top-notch writers. So you don't need somebody like me to come in there and add my 2 cents. They got things like that handled. So my area of expertise is more along the lines of editorial. So that's what I do. And that's where I'm at in the project. And it's placing people like that, placing people in those different roles, the role of a writer, the role of an editor, the role of an artist, whether it's pencils or inks or colors or letters even. Putting together a social media team, putting together a marketing team, right? Because all this is things that needed to be done in order for the project to be successful.
So look, now let me ask this. So you're essentially doing like just a really big event like this. So I'm curious more than anything else, especially at an editorial level. How do you make sure that what's being written doesn't contradict something else that's being written?
Just like with any other book, any other project, you have the editors read the scripts. You have the story beats. You have the outline of the story. You know the direction that you want the story to go. So you pass those story beats along to the writers and let the writers fill in, so to speak, but they write their story based on what these beats are. That way we know the story will have a flow to it. We know how the end and the middle and the beginning are supposed to go with the story because we already have that in mind.
Is it within this event and everything that's happening? Do you think they'll see from this come any permanent changes to any of the characters involved?
No, that's not what the event
I just had to
is.
ask, man. I was talking Blood on earlier with you. You know what I mean?
That's not what it's setting out to do. That's why instead of taking someone's already established IP, we created new characters. The family, the McCallie family, these are new creations. The villain is this is a new creation. And what the other characters do, they essentially play a role. All right, I'm not a DC guy, but it's been compared to like Crisis on Infinite Earths. And that you have all of these characters, you have a storyline that is the main storyline, but you have all these characters that are interacting and as things happening that pushes the story forward.
You said Crisis on Infinite Earths?
Yeah.
Is it? That's the one where, see, I'm not a big DC guy either, but I have read that because, I use my local library. Remember, y'all can go to your local library, and a lot of them have really good graphics novel selections. You'd be amazed. You really would. I'm amazed the one at my townhouse, to be real honest. So, yeah. Local library, you may be able to get some, just if you need your comic fix, man. I'm just saying. Oh. What was it? It's escaped me. It's escaped me.
But we were talking about the Crisis on Infinite Earths.
Oh yeah.
I don't think for
the
Marvel, I don't think they really had such a. They didn't. Well, they had the event where this was recently. They got rid of all the different universes and everything became
Secret Wars.
Yeah.
Okay, no. Yeah. I was thinking of a completely different book than Crisis on Infinite Earths as far as from DC. I'm not, but no, because that is exactly what it is. And yeah, Secret Wars ostensibly, in a way, did do the same thing. But then, Marvel always typically starts going back and bringing back, that's why they just brought back the Ultimate Universe the way they did.
Yeah.
So I think that's the thing that's always been different about Marvel and DC is they hard reset more often,
Yeah.
So wait, you're saying this is a hard reset? That's what you would, but it's a hard reset for these characters. But you've just established these characters, but you're bringing.
Well, it's not a reset. It is.
See, yeah, you got me thinking like
it is the original story. It's not a reset. So as I said, none of the characters coming from the other publishers actually will be changed, because you have the main characters, the main villain, the main characters, which are the members of this family.
okay.
And the story revolves around them.
Okay. I don't understand the comparison. In my opinion,
see,
and
like
I say,
said, I'm not a DC guy, so
okay.
I'm actually just repeating something that was said about the project, because I wouldn't I'm not a DC guy.
Okay,
I'm still trying to understand Flashpoint.
I want to. Firstly, I just want to say, that sounds really dope, man, and I'm still completely intrigued. But I don't understand the comparison, because in that particular event, what they smashed all the universes into one universe.
Well, with this with this storyline, and this is why you have all of these characters from the different publishers and creators, because they represent different universes, and the villain Absalom is actually doing that. He's threatening every universe. The thing that he has, this Epiphany engine, allows him multi-universal travel, so he can travel to any universe and cause destruction. So you bring together all of these people, these heroes from all of these different universes, to join forces to stop Absalom, to aid the McCallie family, because we can't forget about the role that they play.
Okay, see,
So,
you with the aspect of making it to where the character is able if you said that earlier, it escaped me, Marcus, as far as the villain being able to pull from other dimensions like that. And I think that that's an intriguing concept with such a cross, as far as how many companies you're going to be dealing with. But I do kind of see the comparison, I guess, as far as to those comics. You know what I mean? I don't know. But I think it's just more intriguing based on the fact, and I think it's more of a phenomenal thing to have pulled off based on the fact that it's not just one company. You know what I mean? Because I can't think like that's impressive.
well, take Urban Comics, for example. Andre Batts and his character Dreadlocks. You aren't going to find another book where you see Dreadlocks along with from Wingless Comics and Brian Lambert, their character Justice. and from concrete comics, their character Alkalite. I mean, you just aren't going to find a book where you have all of these characters are coming together in one storyline. So with this book, with this project, that's what we were aiming to do, aiming to bring all these different characters and from these different comic book universes, so to speak, and have them all interacting and engaged in one story going up against one big bad villain.
I'll tell you, there's part of my brain that looks at this and thinks it's a phenomenal thing. Especially if you've seen this more within the independents. But I wonder if there would be, like, how much. I just think it would be intriguing to see more and more crossovers like that, because I think that's always one of the greatest aspects of comics is when you have main characters crossing over into bigger teams or things like that. Or at least that always is what interested me personally. You know, when you were, I mean, you had to build to it. You know what I mean? That's why Bloodhunt worked so well, is because what they did with Blade. Yeah. So I just wonder what the possibility of things like that happen. I just, man, sorry. I think too futurist, and it's just got me very, very intrigued and like wondering, man, like what could that truly form into? Like I really y'all need to click the link in the description. Right? It's the top one to this Kickstarter. Y'all gonna, man, I need to edit. Marcus, you hear me?
Yeah. Well, I am actually.
No, you're not. Not quite yet, Marcus. Not quite yet. Right. Because firstly, like I said, y'all click all the links in the description. Right. But I want to let you know, right? If you've enjoyed this quest with Marcus, which you've made it all this way, man, I hope you have. Right. What I want you to do. I should have had this a little bit more prepared, right? I really should have, right? I was enjoying this conversation so much. I didn't do something during the quest that I normally do, right? So maybe I'll just edit this part. It'll be funny, right? It really is, right? I'm gonna make an edit right here, right at the end, man, so this don't look so terrible. My apologies. I really am. Because I normally have a co-host. So like, or I guess I've gotten really used to having a co-host. So part of this time I can like prep for what I'm about to do.
Having the other person makes a difference.
Oh, yes. Yes, it does, man. Very much so. Can't be honest, I think I'm kind of wore out from running a damn pool all day too. Or well, not a splash pad with my boy. Yeah, trying to keep up with a 4-year-old at 40, man.
Oh yeah.
Jesus. All right, my apologies, man. I promise I'm about done, and it's going to be a nice little wrap up. And yeah, it really is. Jesus, man, it's so much. Are you not going to have a wait, son of a bitch? Wait, motherfucker. Ah, there you go. James Brown and George Clinton. Nice answers.
The soundtrack. That's
Yeah.
exactly the
I love
soundtrack of my life. James Brown, George Clinton.
that, dude. I love, yeah, George Clinton. Yeah, like yeah. I swear this bit's gonna go in a little bit of extras. Why not? Why do I feel like you didn't answer the favorite food questions? Did you? Or did you? Why couldn't
Probably not. I don't know. I thought I did. Maybe not though. That was a favorite food question. I thought I answered everything now.
Man, look.
I didn't answer everything. Come to think of it, I don't remember there being a favorite food question.
Oh, Jesus. No, never mind. That's hilarious. Oh. Oh, that's still gonna go in the extra bits as far as that. I don't need that. I don't need that. I don't need that. Okay. Like I said, if you've enjoyed, this quest with Marcus Ross, and I truly hope you have, man. Right? And if you've gotten to this point, I really hope you have. Right? What I want you to do is I want you to send him a golem, right? With some old school, with an old school Rock'em Sock'em Robots toy, right? And apparently just a bunch of food. Like Marcus wasn't even specific. So, you know, I guess.
I think
All right.
it's like favorite food, and I put yes.
All right. All right. All right. Now, if you didn't enjoy this quest, I don't know how you got here, right? But you did, right? And so you want to just, like Marcus annoys you. What you can do, right, is you can send him to Medusa, but you should blindfold her. Let me tell you why, right? Because she's got to be just playing some Kid Bop, right? Right. Just Kid Bop all day, right? And for some reason, it smells like a fish terribly and not a snake. And it doesn't make sense, but that's what it is. Just to smother him, just with fish smells and bop. That's the only
Kid
issue.
Bop. Man,
It's terrible. I'm not gonna agree. At least you had a good conductor. But I want to ask why I didn't. I know you've never perhaps thought of which universe you wanted to live in. That was the point of the question, was to think about it, man. You really don't know?
I really don't know, man.
Is it because you think you would die in all of them?
No, it's like I'm having so much fun moment by moment that it's like it doesn't matter where I'm at, I'm still gonna have fun and live in that moment. So essentially, it doesn't matter what I am, where I am. I'm famous for saying this. I am me in all and every circumstance, situation. I don't change. So it doesn't matter where I'm at, what universe. I don't change. This is me. For whether I'm a fish, I could be a sloth. I could be a worm. I think I'd be the coolest worm. Like I wouldn't just crawl. I would like glide across the ground because I'm just that cool of a worm. So I'm just me in every situation.
Uh, uh, I don't know, man. Like, I kind of think I like to be him too. I didn't say that right at all. Whatever, right? But, man, I mean, think about it though. You go into any universe that's like either like got a ton of monsters, or like kaiju's, or like dinosaurs, or like you know superheroes. Like, you really want to you don't know any of those you would want to deal with.
Nah, I nah. Like I'm just happy about the here and now. As a matter of fact, I was doing this show. The guy asked this question. The question was, "What advice would you go back and give your younger self?" And my answer was like, I'd go to my younger self. I drop myself a pound. Like, yo, what's going on, man? Don't you change. Keep going the way you're going, because you're okay. Because if I gave some advice and some changes were made, then I wouldn't be who I am now.
That's not. I know, man. That's what I'm saying. Like, but
I
Figure it
like me.
I mean, fair enough. I wasn't saying don't be you. I was just
I
saying
know it's the monster universe. But see, if I go to a universe like say I was in the Pacific Rim universe,
oh God.
and I got kaiju's coming up, like kaiju's attacking, like you just can't settle to be safe because you never know when some big monsters breathing some blue stuff is coming to take you out. So it's like, all right,
I would
yeah, I don't think I want to be there.
I would hope. We've never had anybody pick that. I've had a couple people pick like Marvel. I don't think I've ever had anyone. Maybe somebody did pick Gotham once, and I was like, "What is wrong with you? Why do you want to go to Gotham? Like,
Okay.
when, when, who did what to you that you want to go live in Gotham City? Like, seriously, um, uh, no, yeah, but I digress, man. I was trying to wrap the show up, and then I brought that up, and then you did that, and we did that, and we did that, and we did that. But besides that, what I want y'all to do out there is just three things, right? I said four. Well, I said three, and then I put up four, but I meant three, right? One, give it that thumbs up. Two, always get your comic on. Three, have a good night, y'all.
This has been the questionnaire.
Where's the link?
Thanks for checking out the questionnaire.
In the link below, yes?
I will drop it like it's hot.
That's another party.
It's cool, man. I love it.
The questionnaire. That is all.